All right. Well, hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. My name is Jason Walls from CloudShark, and here with me is Tom.
Hi, everybody.
And we are going to show you the ins and outs of the CloudShark API. If you have a CloudShark Online account or you have a copy of CloudShark Enterprise, you have full access to our API. So we're going to show you the three most basic ones, and that will kind of give you an overview of the general structure of all of them. And I'll show you how to get your API key and how to make new ones. And there's various settings that you can adjust when it comes to that. So we'll show you the basics of how they work, and we'll show you some examples that you can use in Linux. And we'll actually be doing it on a Raspberry Pi, which is neat because you can actually deploy something with this script. And if you're able to log into it, you can actually kick off a capture remotely and upload the results to CloudShark. In the meantime, if you've never used GoToWebinar before, there is a question box in the lower right-hand corner of the GoToWebinar control panel. And if you have any questions during the webinar, just type them in there and we'll get to them at the end. And if you have any trouble seeing our live demo, there's in the GoToWebinar window, in the view window where you're seeing us sharing our screen, you'll see a little button at the top that says Zoom. You can click on that to adjust the view to something that's comfortable for you. All right, well, let's get started. So I am going to log into CloudShark here. This is actually Tom's account. So the very first thing that is required for any use of our API methods is an API token. And if you have CloudShark Online, then we automatically make one. Has a different name than here. This is one that we made here, but that one is used for upload. And if you want to make a new one, you click on Create New API Token. You give it a name. You give it some of the permissions, and these will allow you to access the different API methods. So, for example, if you're going to be using our download API, you want this checked. If you want to be able to use the search API, you would actually check search the appliance. But by default, the most common one is going to be upload. And then if you want your API key to always apply a particular tag, you can put that in here. And so whenever anything gets uploaded using this API token, that tag will be applied. So that can be useful if you want it to come from a certain location or it's done using a certain method, you can tag it that way. And if you are using CloudShark Enterprise, you can assign the API token to a particular group or to a particular user. And then if you want someone to be able to use it out of the blue, someone who doesn't have a user account on CloudShark Enterprise, you can enable guest access. That's obviously disabled here on CloudShark Online. Okay, so whenever you are seeing us say use your token, we're talking about this guy right here. So you can actually just copy this and paste this into any of the tools that you might be using it. Like if you're using some of the tools out there that have implemented our API, like AirTool or our Wireshark plugin, you would use the API token for that too. So let's just go and do a quick overview of the different of the most common API methods. So the first obviously is upload, and that can use an HTTP post or an HTTP put, and that URL is what you would put after the domain of your CloudShark appliance. And if it's CloudShark Online, that will be done over HTTPS, and it would be www.cloudshark.org. And this is what the JSON that is returned. It tells you the file name, and this last thing is the session ID. And the session ID is what you see whenever you go to a CloudShark URL. So what you would do in any script that you're writing with this is take that session ID and then put it at the end of the URL after captures, and it will send you to the correct capture. The download method works a very similar way. You include your token and the session ID, and what that will do is actually return the original file that was uploaded, and that includes the type. So if it was something, if it was a PCAP or a PCAP-NG, it'll download as a PCAP or a PCAP-NG, depending on what that file type was, or any of the file types that Wireshark accepts, CloudShark will accept, and you'll see the original file get downloaded. Search is actually very complicated, and to go into the full detail of it, I invite you to go to our support page and look at it. But the basic function of this is to actually return the capture list. So if you have some other tool that you want to use to kind of to integrate with CloudShark and use the capture list to see what captures exist, maybe you're writing something that that shows them in another window, or you're integrating it with another tool. But there's a ton of different options, and it basically builds a nested string of search information, and it will search that in order. And it's all of the options that are available for search in the web interface. We actually call them search or filter. So you could search on tags, you can search on date, you can search on some other metadata like bitrate and some other more obscure things. And it returns a sorted list. And you can actually specify what you want to sort on. And you can also specify the maximum results that return and the pagination. So, it might return 25 results before you have to go onward. And here are the rest of the methods. You can return the annotations that are on packets. You can delete packet captures. You can get the special capture info, and that includes the comments. And the open and view methods are actually used to directly open a URL, an external URL, and turn it into a CloudShark session. All right, I'm going to turn things over to Tom now, and he is going to show you all of these things in action.
All right, hi everybody. I'm going to start here with a few live examples of our API. I have a small tool here that is just going to show the different calls that we can make and the output that will be returned by them. So the first one I have here is a search API call. If we look at this, if we look at the output here, we can see that we're performing an HTTP GET. This is the URL. We're using the live CloudShark server here. Jason showed you a lot of the path here. So here's an example where we're searching for captures with tags equal to webinar API examples. And you can see on my account here, I have a few captures with this tag applied. And the specific JSON that this is going to return is, like Jason said, a list of each capture. So we can see the first one here. We can get information like the file name, who uploaded the capture, the file type. There's a lot of metadata returned here for each capture. And we can see there's 4 of these here. And at the very end, we're also going to return how many captures were found, the current page that you're on, and the total number of pages of captures that there are. And you can see up at the top, we've specified we want page 1, and we want to limit our results to 30 at a time. So that's an example of the search API. So another example here is we have one of these captures that was returned. We can see that there are some annotations on this capture file. We've got an annotation here saying that maybe a specific packet is very interesting. So we have another API method call that we can use to get a list of all the annotations with a specific capture ID. And we can see the JSON returned here is just an array of every annotation for that capture. For an example of the download API call, you can see there's no JSON returned here because it's actually returning the file itself. We're going to perform an HTTP GET, and this is a very simple one where we're just giving it the capture ID at the end. And now we can see that we have this file in our directory, capture.pcapng. And another example, maybe you downloaded this file and maybe you ran it through another tool for some expanded analysis and found something interesting on a particular packet itself. we have another annotations API call where we can add annotations to a specific capture file. So here you can see we're performing an HTTP post. We're still using the annotations call, but we're adding a few URL parameters. We're going to add an annotation to frame 5, and we're just going to say it's an annotation from the API. And this API call again returns JSON, including an array of all the new annotations in that capture file. If we go back over here and refresh, we can see that we've made an annotation from the API itself. So those are a few live examples of the API. We have another example here, like Jason said, using the search API call. If we take a look at this, what we're going to do here is, this is a little script. We have this published as well, so we can provide a link to this script if you'd like to use it. This is just going to print a URL to every capture that the user can see. So if you want to maybe publish a list of all the captures that you have for someone else to look at, you can use this script to do that. And if we run this, this is returning a list. It's including this debug information where you can see what HTTP gets and what's being returned. But this is ultimately a list of every URL to every capture that this user's API token can see. So you can use this to generate a list that you might publish somewhere else of all the captures that you have. And our last example, and probably the most exciting, is an example of our upload script with the Raspberry Pi. So I have a Raspberry Pi sitting over on my desk right now, and I want to capture the traffic that is happening over there. So we have this published up on GitHub too, so anyone can download this. If anyone wants to comment on it or add anything to it, we'd be happy to use the GitHub for that. So I'm just going to open this up first, and we can take a look at what it's actually going to do. So when you use this script, you're going to want to supply the CloudShark URL here. By default, we're going to use our live server, but if you have your own enterprise version of CloudShark, you can update the URL here and use your own. When you download this, it doesn't have any API token in it, so you'll have to provide your own. And essentially what we're going to do down here is we are going to start a capture using the dump cap program. And then at the end, we are going to upload it using curl, using our API right here. We're going to add a couple of options so we can control maybe what the file name it gets uploaded as, and possibly some additional tags that we might want to add. And at the very end, we are going to print you a URL where you can view this capture. So I'll show you how to run this on your Raspberry Pi. I have one right here. I'm SSH'd into this. So it is remote over on my desk. First thing we're going to do is we're going to copy a link to the zip file containing all these files. And we'll just use wget to download this onto our Raspberry Pi. Next thing to do would be to unzip this. And this has created a directory for us called CloudShark Capture Master. So go into here. And here's our script right here. So the first thing anyone using this is going to have to do is add their own API token. So I'll add mine in here. And like Jason said, you can find this by logging in and going right to Preferences and API Tokens. Copy that and paste that right in. And we'll make this script executable. And now we can start a capture. We'll capture the first 10 packets, and we'll capture on our Raspberry's ETH0 wired interface. We're using the Raspberry Pi 3, so we actually have a wired and a wireless interface, and you can control which one it uses. Any of the normal arguments that you would give to dump cap can apply here. You can actually see them. If you give it a -H, it will print out. You can use -I to specify the interface. If you want to specify a filter, you can do that with -F. And so we'll start by capturing 10 packets on interface ETH0. Make that lowercase there. So once that capture is completed, we're going to prompt you to ask you if you want to send this to CloudShark. We do have a variable in that script where you can automatically upload everything to CloudShark, but for the first time, I'd recommend prompting. So we do want to upload this to CloudShark. We want to add an additional tag, and we'll give it a file name. And once you hit enter, it will upload that capture to cloudshark.org. Once that's done, it will print out a link to this session here with the capture that we just performed remotely using the Raspberry Pi. If we paste that in, here's the capture right here. You can also see this in your main capture index, and you can see that it was uploaded with the file name webinar.pcapng and the additional tags that we supplied.
Now, Tom, you were saying you're using dump cap. How do you get that onto Raspberry Pi?
You can install dump cap using the apt-get command. So let me search for this. The Raspberry Pi is a Debian-based Linux distribution, so it uses the apt-cache and the apt-get commands. So we can see that there is a package for T-Shark. It's not exactly called dump cap, but that dump cap is installed alongside T-Shark. And you can install that with sudo apt-get T-Shark. Apt-get install. Since we already have it installed, it just lets us know that we have the newest version.
All right. Well, thanks, Tom. Let's turn things over to if there's any questions. Well, once again, if you have any questions, there's a little box in the bottom right of your GoToWebinar control panel. So just type it in there, and we'll see if we can answer it. If you'd rather have it be answered privately, just let us know, and we'll email you afterwards. There is one more question about dump cap. Yeah, so dump cap is the program that T-Shark uses when it's doing its captures, kind of before it does all its analysis. So what we're actually doing, you could use T-Shark to do the captures, but we're actually we're kind of sidestepping that, which provides some levels of efficiency, but it takes all of the same arguments that T-Shark would actually take. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. If you do have any questions, feel free to write into support. And I did have some resources up here, but the one thing I forgot to add, I just wanted to remind you that we do have this GitHub account for CloudShark. And if you go there, you'll find this script, and you'll also find our Wireshark plugin and
OpenWRT.
And also our addition for the open gateway platform called OpenWRT. So in a similar manner to building a remote capture on a Raspberry Pi, there is a plugin for OpenWRT that will allow you to turn like a home gateway into a capture device, which is also very cool. And that will automatically upload to CloudShark. All right. Well, everyone enjoy the rest of your day. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email us and join us next time.